Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of LostinTranslationmon. This time I'll be covering Digimon Ghost Game episode 61, Resurrection. I'm May, and I'm joined by an extra dog that I'm currently dog-sitting for the weekend. So yes, we are recording separately again, as I was a little bit late coming back, and I told Quinn and Chloe to just go ahead and record their end, as I didn't want to keep them up too much. So that was completely on me, but in any case, it'll be another separate recording where I will drop in Quinn, Chloe, quick comments in the usual spot, and then I will go over my own discussion points. So that's also it for housekeeping, I guess. There's not much else. In terms of a synopsis, this week we have the Human of the Week being a classmate of Ruli's, and her brother's fiancé has just passed away, and her brother is basically hanging out with a corpse, and it comes to life sometimes. So, you know, just kind of these normal things. So it turns out that the girl's corpse is actually kind of embedded with Millenniummon, which was a fairly surprising thing to happen. I was surprised that the Mon of the Week was Millenniummon. The episode did a pretty good job of not really revealing it until the very last moment it could. It just had this swarm of evil Digimon being Evilmon and Sumemon. And then I was kind of surprised that we were just dropping a Millenniummon in. So Millenniummon bursts out, shows itself as the Millenniummon, and then the girl, who is the corpse, says that she will be the weak spot for the characters to aim at and destroy. So they do so, and we're just going to ignore the vast amounts of therapy this fiancé clearly needs from not only having to deal with the death of his fiancée twice, once being right in front of his eyes, but also the fact that he's just seen a bunch of giant monsters. So kind of feels super bad for this guy. Anyway, so Millenniummon becomes Moon Millenniummon, which is his gem/dormant form again, and instead of hand-waving it away to Clockmon or Mummymon, they, interestingly enough, decide to leave it with Hero, the high school student with little to no expertise about what to do with this world-ending monster. But anyway, Black Tailmon is watching on. Hero's Digivice Dual V kind of lights up and then fades. And we have Espiamon wondering if he's going to evolve anytime soon. So a bunch of possible plot points in the last few minutes. And now that I've gone over the synopsis, let's go over to Quinn, Chloe, quick comments, and also, of course, Quinn's Quatch-Up from episode 60 of Digimon Ghost Game.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Digimon Ghost Game, the LostinTranslationmon files.
We definitely remember what we're doing.
Yeah, but first, before we do anything, we need to do Quinn's Quatch-Up. Take it away, babe.
Sure, let me get my notes up here.
They're right up at the top. That's the wrong week.
I'm great at things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, highlights. I really liked the opening on this one. The face flooding was so good. It was pretty disturbing. I was really into it. I really liked just random, slightly drunk woman getting absolutely traumatized and probably should have been murdered for absolutely no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sick. I really liked that Hiro and Rui got turned into novelty sprinklers. I knew they were just, getting them out of the way so that Kyo could have an episode, but I was into it. I wish Rui would dwell even a little bit on what their experience was as they stood there, turned into, horrible fountain monsters.
Yeah. I need to know, did they, get fully rehydrated when the water came back into them? Because I feel like every one of these people should be, severely dehydrated.
There's something data water, but does that mean that they had their memories leaking out of them?
Something like that, I guess. I don't know.
Seems like it should be.
Yeah.
Anyway, for all that, none of that really holds together if you look at it in any amount of detail. As Air would like to say, just don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the visuals were great. The horror elements all really hit home pretty well. All in all, solid episode, even though I don't have a whole lot of, like, specifics to say about it, other than that, it was alright. Moving into lowlights, remember last week when everyone's face flooded the entire town and we had to rebuild the whole thing and call in FEMA or, the self-defense force, I guess? Yeah, me neither.
Yep.
I really don't like when Jellymon shocks Kyo. That's, it's bad, actually. Kind of a nitpick, but couldn't Thetismon have just healed everybody? Or at least Ruri and Hiro and brought them back into, being able to do stuff? Thetismon? Great typo notes.
It's okay.
Thetismon, whatever.
Whichever.
They're the same person.
Yeah.
It's what the dubs will call her in a couple of years. It's fine.
There you go.
I'm just ahead of my time. I really hate that in a few years there are going to be a lot of dojin about this episode.
Care to elaborate on that?
Really, no.
Okay,
no,
perfect.
So many tentacles.
You said you wouldn't elaborate, and then you did.
That's fair. I'm sorry. That's the last of it, except for... No. Wouldn't be sensible. Clip shows are never my favorite. We did a decent amount of them for,
I mean, we really just did a little montage. Well, I guess we've kind of done a little montage for all of them when they get there. What is this, Mega Evolution? Am I using that right? I don't know which they are.
You're not wrong. I just... especially in an episode that I feel like doesn't hold together that well if you actually look at the plot. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, clip shows are and I feel like we did a lot of montage in an episode that really could have used a little more dwelling on the story itself. Why could the bubble of electricity encase Kiyashiro and make breathable oxygen for him?
Did it make oxygen, or did it destroy water?
There are many questions here to which there are no good answers.
Yep.
Also, remember when letting the water touch your face would turn you into a fountain or whatever?
Oh, I brought that up too. I was like, I'm pretty sure there are several times where we broke the getting water on your head turns you into a fountain rule.
Yeah, specifically for him, he was just immune because. The ending, literally everything about the way we resolved it with just, okay, I know y'all we're gonna make this world your plaything by flooding random areas, by turning people into horrible monstrosities. But, we punched you in the face once, so you'll probably definitely not just wander off to a different town and do it again.
Yeah, you will not initiate the face-to-fire hydrant pipeline on anyone else.
Exactly. And then Gammamon said all three of his lines.
Yeah. Bad vibes, kaboom.
Chocolate at the end. That's it.
Gotta get
those
that
are
side
Those are the three notes that Gammamon needs to hit in any given episode.
Yeah. So, carry on.
My favorite character for this week, I went with Hangyomon. Not just the what the heck was the actual big bad's name?
Cathilamon.
Cathilamon. Definitely not Cthulhumon.
Yeah.
Different guy.
Very different people.
Cthulhumon.
Oh, there is also a Cthulhumon, huh?
Cathilamon, but I really liked the Hangyomon, who were just pure minions, just evil for the sake of being evil, just liked screwing with random humans. I had no redeeming features, and I like that in a villain.
Yeah, I suppose they didn't really, See, that's the worst part. Why, sure, maybe Cathilamon learns his lesson, but the Hangyomon just went around turning people into faucets, and showed no remorse, and didn't even get punched.
Fired missiles at people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I rated it a 3.5. It was alright. Not perfect. It didn't hang together well as a story, if I'm being honest. Especially at the end, but, I've seen a lot worse. Especially from some seasons of Digimon around here. Putting it in 37th place under episode 59 Jiraiya.
Okay.
And, like I've said, it's had potential. I liked certain parts of it. If they'd leaned into the horror and put a little more time into Cathilamon being something other than just a chaos agent for no reason who doesn't mind being told no, apparently. But, yeah. Thoughts on the series so far? All of these episodes need 4 extra minutes so that they can have a complete story. Also, Monster Disco should never have been replaced. Every time I get to the end credits, I'm disappointed when it's not that one.
Yeah, that's relatable. I feel you.
Yeah, and then I predicted probably some plot and also zombies. And I was right about both of those things.
Was there plot?
A little. I think we're gonna definitely do something with the Zed Millenniummon, or I guess
Well, let's
Moon
not. Hold on,
Millenniummon
we gotta.
So yes,
we
there
gotta
was
work our
some
way up
plot.
to that. No spoilers, Quinn.
Apologies if you, the listener, have watched last week's episode and are listening to my quetch up before moving into watching this week's episode. So I guess pause here and we'll move into the highlights of this week.
Yeah. So, oops, I do have it right. Okay, so this episode was intense.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning and talk about the title and Big Bad real quick.
Yes. So this was episode 61, Resurrection. The Big Bad, I guess, was Zed Millenniummon or Moon Millenniummon or something Millenniummon.
Yep.
I'm just gonna
Badly
write down
named
Millenniummon cousin.
2 times evolved, because I hate that I know this.
I hate that you know it too.
Air's not here to explain that it's a big deal, because Zed Millenniummon A is the reason Ryo can transcend time and space and is the most important character in all of Digimon, but also is just fairly reasonably argued as the most powerful one, period.
Okay.
So yeah, it's sort of interesting, and the fact that the crystal is sticking around and it's not just a one-off suggests that he'll either be the Big Bad or be related. I'm really hoping there's maybe going to be a Jogress with him, and that's why the visit to the future was, incredibly intimidating. That'd be sick.
That'd be cool. But yeah, we came right out of the gate swinging. We got a death right on camera.
And then
No
confirmed
cuts,
it with a funeral.
Yeah, and we looked into her eyes as she died, and that was kind of
It was a lot.
messed up.
Yeah, especially when you realize we're gonna have, 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
Whew!
And yeah, this episode legit had me kind of scared. I'm a big old baby who can't handle horror movies at all, so it's not saying that
It's
much.
not a high bar, but still,
But
she
I
needed me to
was-
hold her hand. It was kind of cute.
How dare
Very
you.
cute.
The corpse animation was really good, okay? It was spooky. I was scared.
I'm
She
not
looked
making fun of
unnatural. The sound effects just...
Her eyes darting around all over. Oh,
Yeah.
everyone's eyes, but especially her eyes throughout. Really good highlights. So into that.
Uh-huh. Also, because I'm under my legal obligation to say so, this is a pretty Ava episode, all things considered. We got the embryo of Adam, aka Moon Millenniummon, Dirabitmon. I can never remember it, so I'm just going to say Angoromon's twin spears of Longinus and Cassius. There's probably something else too, but
We
those are the
decided
two that
not to
stuck
dwell
out.
too much on Ava this week because there was a lot of good things to talk about besides that.
Yeah, which is rare.
Yeah. Just really solid episode. I liked the animation on the corpse. There was great sound effects and music.
Yes. They also, at least at the first part of the episode, and I forgot to write this down, but they did some lighting. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they sure did.
They sure went for a visual tone and stuck to it for a while, and it helped increase the horror vibes for sure. Everything looked kind of washed out and pale.
Yeah, in
was good.
direct contrast to the things I was just saying a minute ago about the last episode, this was a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and an ending, and no one had to just kind of forget about all of the terrible things they did and wander off into the sunset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we even set up some, potential plot points for the future. What with Hiro keeping the crystal, and also his, Digivice or whatever, went black, went dark. I'm not sure if it died or if its screen just went to sleep. I'm not sure what I was supposed to take away with that, but it sure seemed like something.
We're definitely doing something with evil Gammamon. I can't think of the name right offhand.
Gulus.
Gulus Gammamon, there we go.
And I also didn't write this down, but I do like how I like it when we... No, I'm going to commit to this anyway, even though I've probably said the exact opposite in the past. I do like sometimes that we don't answer every question. Like, you know, what is this family going to do now that they know that this girl's definitively dead, but she was hanging around the house for 10 days walking around.
Yep.
And we get no closure there.
Yep, and I'm fine with that. I don't like when they open big plot hole size stuff, but I am pretty okay with just leaving that guy super traumatized.
Yeah, and it's yeah.
It leaves that open without me feeling super unsatisfied about it being left open, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Knives Out actually did something similar, and I won't spoil it in case people haven't seen it, because it's still a semi-ish recent movie, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it kind of had those vibes. I just kind of like when it's like, yeah, you know, what happens next doesn't really matter, so we leave it up to you, the viewer. Yeah.
Hero certainly isn't gonna stick around and comfort that guy who just doted on a corpse for a week and a half.
Yeah. But yeah, really good episode. I liked it a lot. I'm sure there are plenty of other highlights that we had that we just forgot to write down. But yeah, this was a solid episode. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed watching it. I didn't find myself rolling my eyes the way I, sometimes do.
Yeah. But every masterpiece is not without its flaws. We had some lowlights.
We do.
Take it away.
My big one, as someone who worked in healthcare, all of these people were just super comfortable hanging out for hours in a room with a corpse while watching her to see if she started moving.
Mm-hmm. And even like grabbing her hand to feel for a pulse.
Yep.
I would not be able to do that.
Yep. I had to because it was my job and I really didn't care for it.
Yeah. Also, we had this as a highlight, but it was so scary that it also is a low light for me. Her eyes were so scary.
So good. Also, the fiance's eyes being just real downcast and depressed. They sold that for me. That's actually more of a highlight, but still, again, a little creepy.
Yeah, it was spooky. It was off-putting. It was exactly what it was intended to be. It just was a little much for a big baby like me.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of the, episodes they sketched out early and were really excited for.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Which makes sense. It was presumably fairly plot important.
Yeah. I really wish that we could warp evolve to the highest level, please, instead of just we skip one evolution but still get our butts kicked. And also, Angoramon literally described Zed Millenniummon as a catastrophe.
Yep.
And you're telling me, okay, catastrophe, cool. We'll give him the
80%.
75%.
We'll phone it in a little bit.
Yeah. Like if it's a catastrophe, go all out from the beginning, y'all. But whatever. Also, the whole, Zed Millenniummon is a Millenniummon, and I know very little about Digimon, except that I know that Millenniummons tend to be a big deal.
Yeah.
And we killed it in one episode, which was pretty fast, and the reason we were able to do that was because we had the human as a weak point. But she also said, I'm not a real part of it, and that's Ms. Weak Point. But if she's not a real part of it, how could she be its weak point? I don't understand.
I can definitely construct a set of reasoning, and I feel like Air will have done so in his portion of the episode. But yeah, they definitely needed, 2 more lines of phlogiston to make that work for me.
Yeah, you can't just say, yeah, I'm really dead, but also when Zed Millenniummon took over, it awoke my consciousness, and that's why it's weak point?
Attack the weak point for massive damage. That is to say me, the ghost that's talking to you. But yes, I'm dead. Why do you keep protesting that I'm not, when I keep insisting to you that yes, I am dead?
Oh, because he was traumatized as hell.
Well, I just meant, I can see when you're having a conversation with someone and they keep saying, I'm dead, I can see why your first reaction is no.
Yeah, I suppose. Also, can Espimon just leave, please?
Yeah, especially when combat comes around, could he just stop trying?
Yeah. Has Mott Bomb ever worked?
Yeah. God, please don't have him eat the crystal or whatever, and that's
how he finally evolves.
yeah. Because come on, we did that. We did that in season 3 with Impmon. You didn't see that.
I
far.
didn't.
It's great. You'll love it when we get there if we ever actually
Which one's
go
season
back to
3?
that
Is
one.
that Tamers?
Tamers.
Okay.
Tamers is the good one.
We did start watching Tamers a little bit.
Yeah. Anywho,
But the bright side of that would be that we would then get to kill Espimon, and I'd be fine with that.
I'd be pretty okay with finally killing Espimon. It'd be pretty cathartic.
Yeah. This is kind of a nitpick low light, but I kind of wish that she had just died from some freak accident rather than it was actually a Digimon rushing out through the computer and slamming her against the wall.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, it didn't have to be a Digimon's fault, and Zed Millenniummon could have gotten into her some other way, you know? Like, why does it always have to be Digimon? Why couldn't she have just died and then the Digimon happened?
Sure, yeah. Zed Millenniummon just interfering with the nature of souls, which we've now confirmed to exist on several occasions. I feel like that should be a little more important to some of the characters, maybe.
Yeah.
And then also, like, again, very nitpicky. I wish that her being a physicist mattered a little more.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was cool that she was, and maybe we're setting up to do something. The physics lab is why Digimon are coming to this world or something. But yeah, with that said, I appreciate women scientists.
Yeah, definitely. So, Quinn, who was your favorite character?
A corpse lady. Manami, great. Well executed. I loved her responding to questions with single word answers. Very good.
That was very scary. It was a tough choice for me. I actually had to sit there and think. I had to sit there and think for several minutes on what I wanted to choose as my favorite character, because it was a tough call between Manami and her fiance. And in the end, I went with her fiance. That dude scared me. He was clearly having a bad time and he was going through some stuff, and I felt so bad for him. And he didn't even get any on-screen closure.
Yeah, literally no one in his family tries to console him at all.
Yeah, dude just, lost his fiance days before they were set to get married. And he is, having such a hard time.
Yeah.
And, oh, God.
And I'm
poor
sorry,
guy.
when, he calls me and says, no, it's okay, her corpse is talking to me. Oof. He's gonna need to spend some time in a white room.
I think he would not say her corpse was talking to me.
I
think he
mean,
would say, she's alive. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, but yeah, but he knew that he had to, hide her, because he was like, I'll protect you, because he knew she wasn't right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the guy who decides to, hide the zombie because of emotional attachment.
Yeah, and it is the horror of real life, and maybe that's why I chose him in the end, is,
that's fair.
The scary thing is losing someone close to you.
Yep.
How would you rate this episode, my dear?
A 5.
How about that? Me too.
Woo!
How would you rank this episode?
I have to say, first place, really, really good. I liked it a lot.
Heck yeah, that's fair. I also really liked this episode, but I'm putting it in 5th place because as I just said, am a sucker for the horror of real life ones, so it has to go below Bad Friend.
Yeah. So Chloe initially wrote down that...
So yeah, as we were watching this episode, right, we were talking about how all of these evil Digimon were around or whatever, and in the subtitles I caught the name Evilmon. So I wrote down, I've said this before, but I realize now that I was wrong. Evilmon is actually the dumbest Digimon name. And then I unpaused the video and we watched for maybe 2.5 more minutes, and then I had to pause it and write right below that, I know I've said this before, but I realize now that I was wrong. Zed Millenniummon is actually the dumbest Digimon name.
Can't even. Yeah. You're just correct.
I'm just right. Do you have any thoughts about the series thus far?
It looks like we're finally going into the home stretch, and we're gonna maybe do something with the plot stuff we seeded 50 episodes ago.
I'm looking forward to it if true. Big if true. But yeah, I was kind of thinking that, with the whole world-threatening mega monster thing, that this might even been the beginning of like a conclusion arc. It doesn't seem like it was, but it seemed like it could have been.
I think we might be starting that, because I think we're going to do something with the crystal, and I hope it's relatively soon.
Well, yeah, I guess I was expecting specifically Zed Millenniummon to be a bigger deal for several episodes. But we just killed him this episode, which is fine.
His whole thing is that he always comes back.
Ah, okay. Well, then I'm correct, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, he's almost certainly going to be the big bad, and I'm hoping that we do some time travel shenanigans and Rio shows up. It almost certainly won't happen, but come on. Please, Digimon, let me have this one. Do more weird, insane, timey-wimey stuff because you can.
I feel like that's a very be careful what you wish for sentence there.
That's fair, that's fair.
But yeah, it's good. Good show. Like it so far.
Yeah.
The next time on, it is called The Strange Floor. Have any thoughts or predictions?
It'd be cool if we maybe made some progress on the going to the digital world, or finding out anything about who the one, definitely Hero's father, who is sending all of these evil Digimon to the human world.
Yeah. Yeah, it does kind of look like there's some very digital doors there, and I'm not sure if that's just like, for flavor, or if it's actually like a, hey, you're in the digital world now. We did see What's-Her-Bucket with, locks through her face and, circuits behind her and stuff, so maybe we are doing digital world. That'd be cool.
That'd be neat. I'd be into it.
It also gives me some vaguely Other Side Picnic vibes of, gotta access floors of a building in a certain order, and strange thing happens as you continue to do so, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Do you expect any plot next episode, next week?
I do think we're almost certainly in the last 10 episodes here, so I think we're just gonna chug straight through plot.
You think we're gonna address any of the stuff that came up this episode though, like the
I think we might.
Fetus of Adam, or the fact that Hero's Digivice screen went to sleep?
I think we will acknowledge that he still has it, and then do something not directly related to that, but that is plot.
Okay. Oh yeah, I suppose we had a Black Tailmon show up.
Yeah.
But stop doing that.
Yeah, that's no longer important.
Yeah. Just stop that.
Yep, they're just always around, we get it.
Yeah, it was compelling maybe the first 2 times. It was compelling the first time, maybe the first 2 times.
If they wait and do it every 6 episodes, or even 10 episodes, and make it, rare enough that I'm intrigued, especially if you actually gave me something other than just literally a shot of them being in the scene.
Well, and we've probably on average gotten, one maybe every 6 to 10 episodes. It hasn't been it's not like it's every episode we see it.
That's fair, but it's fairly frequent and rarely comes with a meaningful update.
Yes, that is the part that gets me is, okay, cool, yeah, we get it, he's back. Please give us anything else about this?
Yeah.
Push a button on a thing, or send a text or something so that we have something to speculate about. Right now, all he is, okay, yep, there's Black Tailmon again, just watching.
Yep. Also, Hero's mom sure is still in Brazil or whatever.
Something like that.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
I think that's everything I have.
Same. This was a good episode. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Chef's kiss.
Cool. Well, hopefully next week we'll be recording together. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
And now that we're done with Quinn Chloe quick comments, I'm going to be going over my own discussions. So, highlights. So, first of all, it's possible plot maybe. The main chunk of the episode wasn't plot, but then in the last few minutes we got possible plot snippets. These all could just result in nothing. These could just be never mentioned again. But Black Tailmon does show up. The Digivice Jewel V does light up. So I'm going to say that it probably meant something. If it was just Hero saying, I'll take this Digimon, and then nothing else after it, I would kind of assume that would be the hand waving away the Mon of the Week. But because we had both the Digivice Jewel V light up and Black Tailmon show up, whether or not the Digivice Jewel V lights up whenever Black Tailmon's nearby, or if those two things are just separate cool things that happened, it doesn't really matter, because in any case, Black Tailmon showing up usually does signify something important to do with the plot. And then, of course, we have Espimon at the end saying that he wonders if he'll evolve, which we, of course, know that he does have the adult form of Hover Espimon, and as of recording this, we don't know if he has a perfect or a mega form or not, just that he has that adult form. So, just these little snippets at the very end of the episode. Again, if it just finished at Hero getting Moon Millenniummon and didn't do anything else other than that, I would just say it was another hand waving away, but with those additional bits, I'm thinking that it'll mean something, especially because it almost feels like we're wrapping up. I can't imagine this series going longer than a few more months. Maybe it'll end in April, maybe even earlier. I can't imagine it going on for that many more episodes. So I'm going to say that we're maybe wrapping up in terms of this series. The episode itself also was a complete story that was fairly decently placed. It had a beginning, a middle, and the end. It didn't have any pacing issues. I didn't find that the ending felt rushed. It just sort of felt like, oh, that's a weak point, which I guess my only minor lowlight is that Millenniummon felt like he was defeated fairly easily and quickly, despite Angoramon saying, hey, this Digimon is kind of a big deal. So it makes me think that it is meant to be useful later, whether or not as a big bad that he just sort of reawakens and is evil, or if he's just kind of a Chekhov's gun of a Digimon that just kind of shows up. Maybe Gullisgamamon merges with him, who knows? That could be an interesting point for future evolutions for Gullisgamamon. Anything could happen there. It's kind of hard to say and hard to speculate what else will be going on there. Especially because, I guess, with Adventure Colon, which was the Digimon Adventure reboot, we had Millenniummon, and he was kind of a big bad, but didn't really feel that hefty or weighty as a big bad, just kind of existed. So I guess I'm still a little bit hesitant because of Digimon Adventure Colon. In any case, the overall story was very emotional, especially with the fiancé sitting with his fiancé's corpse and just kind of cuddling on the couch watching TV. It kind of hurts, and a lot of when I finished the episode, I was kind of not sure how to feel. I was kind of sad, I was kind of uncomfortable, and those moments between the guy and his fiancé's corpse, they were just kind of upsetting. They made me feel uncomfortable. But as I've said a lot of times over on YouTube and in this podcast, art is meant to make you feel something. Media is meant to make you feel something. And this episode definitely made me feel things. It made me feel sympathetic for this guy who not only had to have his wife die in a horrific workplace accident, then had to basically see his wife more or less die again at the hands of his not quite sister-in-law's high school friends. This guy needs some therapy, and I really felt for him. It was an emotional moment, and it also was uncomfortable because, that's a corpse, but to him it's more than a corpse. And it's just kind of emotional, and they did a pretty good job of writing an emotional moment. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too in your face, it was just sort of these subtleties that these moments that you have with a loved one. It doesn't necessarily have to be a partner or a spouse or what have you, but any loved one, you have these kind of tender moments, and then you would have these moments with their corpse because you're not willing to admit that this person's no longer there. It's really, really sad. But in terms of that, those are my highlights, and I kind of already mentioned my one lowlight, which I'm not really counting because I feel like Millenniummon might come back in some capacity, so they couldn't just completely wipe him out, especially because it kind of made sense for the girl to help out, because otherwise we just have this world-ending being that we have to fight. In terms of favourite character, it has to be Millenniummon. I think a lot of Digimon fans, whenever they see Millenniummon, they are on board the conspiracy Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, where it's just pointing out every single possible connection. No, I'm not doing another WonderSwan story read through. Actually, no, that is a lie. I do have one planned, but it's not because of this. It's not because of this. I will link my older WonderSwan videos and podcasts where I've covered the stories there in the link dump, but I won't be going over them as in depth because of Millenniummon showing up here, because I did that for Adventure Colon and it turned out to mean absolutely nothing. In terms of my rating, I gave this a 5 out of 5, and it's in first place in my ranking, which, looking at our overall rankings, I'm going to put it in first just because both Quinn and I had it in first place. In terms of last week's episode, episode 60, that sits at 44th place. So it kind of just sat in the bottom middle, but it's the bottom of the ranking, or bottom-ish, but then again, it's still a pretty great episode, last week's episode, and a lot of the episodes looking through, I feel like are all, or mostly, fairly decent. But yeah, this week's episode, it's a solid episode. It gets to be in first place, which is great because it means that we have more recent episodes at the top there, so that's always good. Over on YouTube for the video comments for Postmon Pat, we have first up Chaos Blood Ninja, that's a cool name, who says one thing they thought was funny is how the kids already rode on Submarymon with Hiro and Ruli in the cockpit while Kyoshiro had to sit on the tail, but then was in the cockpit when Jellymon had to drag him out to get into the shrine. And then when Kyo needed a way to get underwater, Submarymon opens up the cockpits and Kyo's just like, smiley face. If they do bring back prior perfect level villains like Philesmon without giving them mega evolutions, last week's Jedi episode already set a precedent for them just to fight them in their perfect forms and be like, oh no, the time limit. Which, that's what I'm kind of worried about. We had all these great setups with Philesmon, for example, and then we're not really doing anything because I guess if he comes back now, it's just, oh no, the time limit, which I'm still kind of annoyed that we didn't fix the time limit with the upgrade because now we have Mega. Do we even know if Mega has a time limit? I don't know. Anyway, they go on to say also they like how the Megas are more like their champion forms than their perfect forms. And yeah, totally agree with you. That's definitely a thing. And while Thetismon has the booby waifu lady, which is, those are my words, Tesla Jellymon is more tomboyish and combat focused like Amphimon. So yeah, that is absolutely true. The perfect forms kind of are a little bit more random, which is kind of interesting. But, I mean, I do also like their perfect forms, but yeah, the adult forms do fit with the Megas just a little bit more. Duxio says that Submarymon was really cool, and he was just chilling being a dolphin. And yeah, totally agree. I just was happy to see Submarymon. Next we have Daniel Smith, who says they really enjoyed the episode. They're glad that Kyoshiro and Jellymon have gotten their Mega, looking a little Ava if you squint. And yeah, absolutely. She was like a JoJo character in her movements though, which they loved. And yeah, I still haven't seen JoJo, but every time there's a JoJo reference, I know enough about just memes in general that I'm like, is that a JoJo? The memory sharing between Thetismon and Kyoshiro felt best of the three, honestly. And yeah, absolutely, I felt like they have more of a connection than the other characters, which is great. And good for Hiro asking, hey, do you know what's up? But again, no one seems to know anything. It's frustrating, and yet not all that surprising. And yeah, I kind of like, I'm glad that we actually have characters asking, hey, what's up? And then either getting like a vague answer of like, oh, the one who sent us here, and then them just vanishing. I don't know. Next we have Chris H, who says, once again, a monster straight up tries to murder people, and they're just like, no, that's not okay, off you go. And yeah, glad they didn't do that with Millenniummon, or rather Zed Millenniummon, which is, as far as I can recall, his strongest form. Like, imagine if they just took Millenniummon to the side, just went, like, sat him down in a little chair, like one of those tiny little chairs you see in, like, in schools for young kids, and you're kind of like, Millenniummon, say you're sorry, and Millenniummon's just like, I am the ultimate evil, and yeah, you can't just slap Millenniummon on the wrist, so I'm really glad that it's not glad enough to be a highlight, but glad enough to definitely be a light, where we just didn't just say, hey Millenniummon, naughty, you can't just straight up possess corpses and then appear in the sky and be threatening. That scares people. Look at this man who is clearly traumatized. He needs a little bit of therapy. Like, I'm glad that we didn't just do that this week. Next, we have Allison, who says since Kyosho didn't take the bandages off during the Thetismon evolutions scene, people are memeing about a supposed Amphimon Uruken appearing in the future. That'd be funny. Like, if he takes off his bandages and then just we get, like, Amphimon, like, blast mode or something. That'd be cool. Next, we have KG James, who says that Amphimon is kind of dorky looking in a way that they really like. Absolutely agree. It's such, like, a silly design, but it's so, at the same time, perfect. So, anyway, so they say they always had a soft spot for the weirder Digimon designs, and it works really well with Jellymon's personality. Totally agree. And they also say that they agree that it's cool they went in a different direction for Omega, because they really thought that they'd end up with some Rosemon tentacle porn mode or something. And yeah, that was my concern, that we would just go, like, a boob, like, we have the boob lady already, and then we have a slightly boobier lady. I'm glad that we didn't get that. And I feel like we got both. I'm really, really happy about that. Next, we have Angel Squeaks, who says that the episode to them felt like it should have been part of a less episodic series because of how Kyosho was talking when he was underwater. Like, they do think they got the build-up for I Can't Limit Break here, even if he only seemed, like, slightly upset by his last Evolution episode, but the only thing we know about his opinions of people is that largely he doesn't have any friends and prefers anime. But that didn't automatically translate to the realization of maybe I do like people after all. Like, they didn't realize that was an issue. They thought it was just an introvert. Still, they liked the flashback of all of Jellymon's different ventures. And yeah, I do know what you're saying here, because I felt the same with the Angoramon one, like, of Ruli saying that maybe she doesn't want to die, or she has so much more reasons to live. I feel like some of these are a little bit kind of, like, that there was meant to be a little bit more backstory, a little bit more growth before it, but I don't mind it too much. Like, maybe it's more subtle things rather than in-your-face, obvious moments that they're hitting you over the head with. Next, we have Narumi, who says they like this episode because they weren't expecting Submarimon's appearance, and the moment with Kyosho and Thetismon is more emotional than Hero and Ruli's moment. Absolutely agree. Gathalamon doesn't have high stacks like Kazuhamon and Ancient Sphinxmon, and is really childish, so its motivation isn't a big deal and isn't evil, just chaotic. I feel like sometimes chaotic can be more dangerous than just an evil monster. Like, I feel like I'm kind of like, she just was having fun killing people. That's almost scarier than just is killing people to unlock a gate for a demon lord to come through. I think both are fairly spooky. But again, why do we just slap this Digimon on the wrist, but not slap Millenniummon on the wrist? Next, we have Xemet, who says they see Ghost Game possibly going for at least nearly 100 episodes. The story is still dragging on, and so many plots are not yet revealed. Hero's Dad, Girls Gammon, The Dark Digimon Mystery of the Digital World, and The One. I feel like all of those can be wrapped up just by Hero's Dad. I'm fairly certain that the show is leading up to and implying that Hero's Dad and The One are the same, on the basis that earlier on in the series we had Digimon come up and say that they met Hero's dad, who basically enticed them to come to the human world, and then we have a presumably other being who is sending Digimon to the human world. I'm fairly certain that all those plot points can be wrapped up by just Hero's dad. Like Gulas Gammamon, The Dark Digimon, Mystery of the Digital World, I feel like it can all just be explained by Hero's dad. And that's why I think they can probably wrap it up in 10 episodes or so, because they can just say it was Hero's dad, and that would explain everything, basically all those plot points that you mentioned. They would obviously still have to do some explaining, other than just like, can't just say, yep, hand wave, Hero's dad. Like, obviously more depth to that, but I'm fairly certain that Hero's dad and, you know, quote-unquote, The One are the same. They also said that they're starting to like Ghost Game's episodic story. It's refreshing to have Digimon of the week and not follow some multi-arc plot adventure like in... They say Digimon 01. I'm assuming that they mean the first series of Digimon, because I think there might have been a Digimon Adventure CD drama that was set in 2001, but I'm not 100%. But Digimon, the first series, was set in 1999, so I'm assuming that they mean that because that was a multi-arc plot adventure. And yeah, I'm actually enjoying the episodic sort of like, there's a story, but you only get it at the very end. Like we had with Atmon, like to a lesser extent Cross Wars Young Hunters, because it was a shorter series, but definitely with Atmon, how we kind of found out about what the plot was in the first few episodes, like, ooh, Leviathan is bad, AI, possibly scary, and that's still the plot points at the end of the show. In Ghost Game, it's sort of similar. Hero's dad has some mystery to him. He knows of Digimon. He's also lost in the digital world, maybe on purpose, who knows. So I kind of like that as well. Next, we have Lazy Crocono, who says that episode 60 was okay-ish. Their highlight was the random English from Amphimon and the horrifying concept and visuals. But, yeah. Though Submarimon appearing was cool as someone who grew up with the franchise. And yeah, absolutely. I started watching with the first series of Adventure, and I had the virtual pets even earlier than that, and I had Digimon World as well just before I watched the anime. But the show that I'm most nostalgic for is probably Digimon Adventure 02, on the basis that I only caught up to Digimon Adventure the first series in the Dark Masters arc, and then I had to watch the rest with reruns. With Digimon Adventure 02, I watched it from the first airing in Australia to the last episode as it initially aired, so I'm much more nostalgic for that. I also got the D3 Digivice for Christmas one year, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm super nostalgic for Submarimon as well. And in terms of horrifying concepts, yeah, last week, but also this week as well, especially. But this week, while it was horrifying in that, yes, it was a corpse, it was a zombie, that is scary, it was also horrifying in an emotional way as well. Next, we have Epko, who says, why bad Digimon like Gilsgammon and Cathylamon speak similarly, or at least both of them say yo, and does it have to do with anything? It's kind of just like the Japanese language of, like, if you don't speak formally or at least slightly politely, especially when you first meet someone, it's considered rude and or childish. So that's like kind of like just a Japanese thing. Like when you first meet someone in Japanese, you kind of have to ask and answer a bunch of questions like, how old are you? Because your age dictates, like, if you're speaking to someone who's older than you, you have to automatically speak to them more politely. If you're talking to someone younger, you speak to them with like a little bit less level of politeness. If you're in the workplace, if someone has a higher position than you, you have to speak in different forms of Japanese. There is a surprisingly large amount of different ways you can talk to someone, and all of them are very confusing. They're just those different levels of politeness. And yeah, Keigo is not fun to learn, but the JLPT kind of drills it into you. So that's more of a Japanese thing of just them being kind of rude, like not like polite when they first meet you. It's also like kind of a childish thing because when they're a kid, they may not fully grasp the levels of politeness because, oh my gosh, there are so many levels of politeness. And if you're speaking to just a peer, you'll just say random words, basically. It's a very complex language when it drills down to all the different levels of politeness. So that is more or less why they're saying yo to each other. And yeah, it is bad, quote unquote bad Digimon because it's showing that they are, I guess in Gilsgammon's case, it is 100% being impolite, not necessarily being childish. In Cathylamon's case, it's being childish. You could also say that Jellymon also speaks with the same sort of rudeness or curtness, I guess. Amphimon as well but that's more because not necessarily because she's bad, she is also a little bit rude, but it's also because she's childish. So we have these three characters. One is like quote-unquote evil, the other's speaking rude because she's childish, and another one is rude and childish. So that's just Japanese. So it's not really as common in the English language. Like, you still have levels of politeness, but when you meet someone, I guess in your workplace, you might not greet them with yo. That's probably the closest we get. You might say, hello, my name is so and so. You might talk with some formality. You wouldn't just say yo if you're meeting someone for the first time in the workplace, especially if they are ranked above you in the workplace or in any position. But that's sort of as close as English comes to it. Next we have Elijah, who says Gula said a matter of time. He means the Dark Digimon endgame, and that's what it's hinting at. Yeah, most likely. Then we have Danny, who asks us if we know that Amphimon is based off Poseidon's wife, Amphitrite, and the Digimon that is based on Poseidonomon is Neptunemon. And I didn't know that, but that is pretty cool. I'm always glad to learn about why characters are named certain ways. We also have Allison, who points out there is a Poseidomon, but it's an Atmon, but it counts anyway, which I appreciate. Always love to talk about Atmon. And next we have Andrew, who says that forget waifu, the mecha sub-magical girl is better. And totally agree. I love Amphimon so much. Very happy that it's not just another quote-unquote waifumon. So that's it for Postmon Pat. In terms of my thoughts about the series so far, I'm going to say maybe 10, 12 weeks away from finishing at most. I know we had the comments saying it could be at 100. I'm not seeing that, especially because as far as I recall, the listings for upcoming shows for the next season of anime have been revealed, and I think it's the spring season, so Japanese spring being in our autumn, so that's like March, April and May. So I would fairly certain that we would have Ghost Game ending by then. So I can't imagine it continuing on much longer, especially because I believe that all the plot points are just Hiro's dad, and they can all be kind of pulled back to Hiro's dad. So those are my thoughts about the series so far. For predictions, next week's episode is called The Strange Floor. It looks creepy. I'm not really sure what the mod of the week could be. I can't remember if it's said or not in the episode guide listing for the synopses. But it looks creepy, but it definitely doesn't look as creepy as this week. I don't think Ghost Game can actually top this week's episode in creepy, and also in emotional as well. This episode was extremely emotional, as I mentioned. Again, like with the Ajartaramon episode, I kind of finished this episode and was kind of like, do I give it a 3? I'm not actually sure how I feel about it. I'm sad, I'm uncomfortable, but that's why I gave it a 5, because it made me have emotions, and it's also a lot more emotional than I expected from a kid's show. But I'm saying that a lot about Ghost Game, as it turns out. Alright, that's it for another week. So check out the link dump, which is linked in the description, for my older WonderSwan videos. Yes, I do plan on talking about Rio and WonderSwan's games again, but I don't think I have it in the schedule for the next month or two. At the very least, I keep on pushing it back because there's so many other things that I want to talk about, and more exciting stuff that's getting released, so it might not be for a bit. So if you want to hear more about the WonderSwan games and Rio, we have one podcast episode that was recorded, I think it was 2016, after I originally covered Adventure in the original run of the podcast alongside Jay. And then, of course, we have the second time we covered it on the podcast, which was during the airing of Adventure : because we wanted to go through Millenniummon just in case Millenniummon was relevant to the WonderSwan games. It didn't end up being much at all. Millenniummon was kind of there and was vaguely threatening and then died. That was it. So you can listen into those episodes and check them out. They're, of course, on YouTube, but also on podcast listening platforms as well. So go check them out. And you can contact us and stay updated. You can leave us a comment on this episode on YouTube to join the conversation. And for a full list of ways to find the podcast across the internet, such as YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, head over to my Linktree, which is linktr.ee/LostinTranslationmon. If you enjoy the podcast or videos or even my silly little posts online, you can show your support by signing up on Patreon and get some cool rewards and help us hit milestones. And thank you to our current supporters on Patreon, Stephen Reeves, who is Wild164 on Archive Our Own, Katawashi, Chisai, who can follow Chisai on Twitter. You can follow on Twitter at Chisai236, Neobu, who says you should follow Chisai on Twitter at Chisai236, Lismet, who is Lekmon on Tumblr, Nicholas, Emery from Gonwell Hunting, a Hunter World podcast, Magnus, Lucas, Jason105, Patrick, Jason, Shelby, Digital Hazard, who's on Twitch at The Digital Hazard, Alemus, Tropimon, and Vmon Tamer. You can also make a one donation on PayPal, which can be found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Digimon. You can also donate to me on my Coffee account, ko-fi.com/Airdra, and that is it for another week. So thanks y'all for listening. Thanks to Chloe and Quinn for being super duper flexible, because I thought I would be back in time. I went out to make sure the dog is in show coat condition for her upcoming shows, and usually that doesn't take as long, but I got distracted chatting, and I looked at the time when I was leaving, and I was like, I'm not going to be back in time for recording. So thanks to Quinn and Chloe for always being super duper flexible when I have to dip out or be a little bit late, because I didn't want them to stay up too late. So of course, thanks to them, and thanks to you for listening, and of course I will see you on the next one. Bye!